Let's see this Philadelphia thing from an experienced professional's opinion. Let's watch this video.
Well, unfortunately, we have another aircraft mishap to talk about, and I want to talk in this video about what I think happened in the airplane outside of Northeast Philly, the Learjet that went down just last night, and how incredibly rare it is to have two back-to-back major accidents like this. But let's take a look at what happened last night in Philadelphia.
Medevac, mid-service 056, on departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff, wind 25010.
So the situation here is it's a medevac flight. It's a Learjet, it's Lear 55. It's a very nice jet. And it's going from Northeast Philadelphia, an airport I know a great deal about. I flew all the time in my military days out of Willow Grove. I was there for about a dozen years. And that's right in the vicinity of Northeast Philadelphia. They fly a lot of these medevac flights to various places around the world even, but this one's going to Springfield, Illinois. They take off a runway 24. About 60 seconds later, they crash. And there's lots of conjecture about why that happened. I'll tell you in a minute what I think happened. Again, remember, this is just my conjecture about it. There's going to be a whole forensic redo of this whole flight, and that will be the details that come out in the days, weeks, and months to come. But let's take a look at what we know so far.
Medevac, med-service 056, contact Philly, departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 medevac. Thank you, good day.
Okay, let me stop it right there. So this is a routine departure out of any airport. It can take place anywhere around the world. And medevac takes off, and as soon as they're airborne, they're 400 or 500 feet above the ground when they get handed off to departure control. And so they're given a frequency. What I want you to key into here is the voice of the co-pilot who's talking on the radios. It's completely calm, it's completely normal, it's completely routine. Nothing's going on just yet on this airplane, and I can get that from listening to the tone in the voice. And remember, in aviation, there are three priorities, and they go in this order: aviate, navigate, communicate. In that order. So the first thing is make sure you fly the airplane. That's the aviate part. Keep the airplane, the blue side up, as we say in aviation. Navigate is the next thing. Where are you headed? Where are you going, right? That was an impact in the Reagan incident just at the beginning of the week. And then communicate. That's the third of your priorities. It's not the top of the list. And what's going to happen here is you don't hear another word from these guys. It was absolutely routine when they got handed off, and something happens immediately that causes this airplane to crash, and I'll give you my thoughts on that in just a second.
Med Service 056 Philadelphia. Med Service 056 Philadelphia.
So Philadelphia is
right.
expecting the handoff from this medevac flight, and they don't hear anything from them. They never checked in. Something was going on in that cockpit that was preoccupying them, that from the time they got the handoff from tower to dialing the frequency and talking to Philadelphia, they were busy. They're probably doing a checklist. They're trying to handle whatever emergency it is that is now developed, and it developed that fast. Philadelphia's going to call them a couple of times. Tower's going to try him next.
That's why I feel that these are attacks. This one and the other one, although they look like people flying a plane and they just crashed them, there's something behind the scene that's causing these crashes.
Okay.
This ain't normal.
Medevac, med-service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8.
This is absolutely normal. They'll go back and forth between the tower and Philadelphia. You see over on the side of your screen here a schematic of the actual video of what's happening to this airplane. I want you to note the steep angle that the airplane is flying at before it impacts the ground.
Med Service 056 Philly.
Medevac, med-service Northeast Tower.
So they're going to continue to call this airplane. They've already crashed. They're never going to respond. And this is a tragedy. And again, we watch this and our hearts just go out to the people on board that airplane and the people on the ground as well. So what happened here Well, we don't know a whole lot. And again, in the long run, we're going to find out that.
And I was going to say on a side note, even if somebody had a parachute, you still wouldn't have made it. You know why? Because you jump out and the thing like this, it might pull you right through the propellers because it's not going like this and you jump out. Let's say you jump out. You could get caught right in the path of that thing on the way down.
You went straight down.
The details. There's a couple of things that take place here, and I'm looking at the angle of the airplane as it hits the ground. That steep angle doesn't happen. The pilots can't create that. This isn't a matter of the pilot pushed over the airplane. It would be very hard to create that steep an angle from that altitude. Most likely, this airplane stalled. And now, what's a stall? A stall is not like in your car where the engine just stops running. A stall in an airplane is when the wing, the flow of air over the wing is disrupted. It stops flowing properly, and then that wing loses lift. Typically when that happens, and again, there are several critical phases of flight. The most critical is the takeoff phase of flight. Why is that? You're the heaviest you're ever going to be. You've got your power pushed all the way up, and you're going slow. You're going to accelerate as you get up to altitude. You're going to reconfigure the airplane by bringing the landing gear up, retracting the flaps and those sort of things. So the airplane becomes even more aerodynamic. So at this point, they're at the most, what we would call in aviation, the most critical phase of flight. And something happens to disrupt the lift over the wings. That's my conjecture on this. At that point, the nose of the airplane, which is kind of up like this, is going to drop steeply. It's going to fall through. One of the wings is going to stop creating lift, and the airplane's going to either go on its back or the nose is going to come sharply down. And that's where you get that steep angle now that you see on the screen where they impacted the ground. Now, if you're up at altitude and that happens, you have altitude to lose to recover because the air will start flowing back over that wing as the nose drops through. When you're this close to the ground, there's no time to recover. And that's what happened to these folks, I think. Why would the airplane stall? One of two possible big reasons. One is the center of gravity on the airplane was off. Maybe it was way too far in the back and it caused the nose to pitch up, which would create a disruption in the lift over the wing. The air is not flowing smoothly over the wing, or they lost an engine or two and they lost all their thrust. Let's put it that way. They lost enough thrust that the airplane stalled and the nose fell through. So at this point now, we're not going to get anything else from Philadelphia or anybody else. I do want you to look a couple times at the angle of this flight, and I want you to understand that this airplane didn't get airborne for more than about 60 seconds. When we look at its flight path, it comes straight off of runway 24. It's climbing out straight ahead as it would have been cleared to do. At the very end of this video that we just watched, there's a little veer to the left before they impact the ground, and that would be characteristic also of a stall. The left wing was the one that probably dipped down first. The nose fell through, and the airplane went just slightly off to the left. I'm grabbing a lot from just a bit of the video here. But again, it's very sad. Now, what does this have to do with the accident outside of Reagan? Well, the two most critical phases of flight, obviously, are taking off and landing. Now, where the two incidents are really totally different is that there's a lot to look at in the DCA accident. The regional jet was in a very tight airspace. They were cleared to land. The airspace in front of them, behind them, and on both sides of them belongs to that commercial jet. The helicopter was talking to the tower. They accepted visual separation rules from the tower. They said they had the airplane in sight. And my conjecture on that video was they were looking at the wrong airplane. They thought they had visual separation on the airplane. The only problem was it wasn't the airplane the tower was talking about. That's human error. Again, we're going to find out in the weeks and months ahead what actually happened, but I think that played a huge factor in it. In this one, we simply...
So and it still to me doesn't sound right, because if he was looking at the wrong plane, there's one in the front and there's one in the back.
They're talking about the other one playing now. He's talking about the issue that happened in DC. Okay.
With the helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's saying that there's one, there are multiple planes taking off, and then there was one in the front and then one in the back, and he saw the wrong one. But how, when the one in the front is the brightest? How do you see the one in the back before you see the one in the front? I don't get it.
That's a good question.
You gonna look in your rear view first before you look in the front view?
How can you have two planes just have to go down? How does this just not the norm? It can't be just human error on both coincident right by side to side. No, it's been something that's been made to look away.
Yeah, it don't sound right.
simply don't know. All we know is that the co-pilot had a completely normal voice, and from the time he got handed that frequency to start talking to departure control, something happened, and it happened quickly. It happened so quickly that the airplane stalled, in my opinion, and then just did that nosedive down into the ground. Now, the question that's going to come back to all of us is this: is it safe to fly? And I've been inundated with emails and texts over the last few days. Captain Steve, tell us it's safe to fly. And the answer is absolutely yes, it's safe to fly. Look, I want you to put this in perspective. Every day, all around the world, there are tens of thousands of departures, takeoffs, and landings all around the world. That goes on day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. The last time there was a major airline accident in this country, in the U.S., with fatalities was over a dozen years ago. I can't even remember the last time there was a mid-air collision like there was at DCA this week. It's been decades since that has happened, and there have been millions of flight events that have gone on in between that. The problem is when two accidents take place so close to each other, boy, it really makes us nervous. And I understand
that's
folks.
the issue.
I get that. You're asking me, is it safe to get on an airplane? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm about to get on an airplane tomorrow. I'm going to fly from Charlotte Douglas International Airport all the way over to London, and I'm going to bring 300 of my best friends with me. It's absolutely safe to get in an airplane.
That's so cool.
Your pilots are exceedingly well trained. They are very seasoned and very experienced. And again, the system has not failed. These are just two coincidences that took place so close to each other. Yeah, it does make us kind of nervous, and I understand that. If you can, come along with me tomorrow night. I got the 8:30 departure out of Charlotte Douglas. I'm headed to London, and we're going to have a good time together. Hopefully, I can put all my passengers at ease before we depart, because I understand how nervous this gets. But as I always say at the end of my videos, I want you to fly safe. And folks, you can rest assured that the system is okay and you can fly safe. Well, there's my thoughts on it. I'm Captain Steve.
Captain Steve, you sure that ain't the message they tell people right before they tell nobody's flying. All flights grounded.
I mean, I know. It's like you can't help but think in the back of your mind about flying, especially if you fly. But, you know, research says it's safer to fly than it is to drive.
But it's scary to see back to back, because nobody wants to think about that fear coming down you in the middle of the air.
You don't want to think about it at
I don't
all.
like turbulence.
It used to be where I didn't think about it. We always pray and just get on.
Yeah.
But now that it's like, okay, you got to reprocess this all over. And as you get on the plane, you just say your prayer.
I don't like turbulence. Nevertheless, you see something coming at you.
Well, we haven't had that happen. Thank Jesus.
And we will not in our lifetimes.
Hopefully not. No. Turbulence. That's why I take my Dramamine. I have no choice, because it would be a horrible flight for me, y'all.
He said it got quiet. What happened on that plane?
And that was a little while, you know. I don't know. I can't even imagine.
You know what? So this is what the prophets have been saying. This is what I've been hearing prophets say about scenarios. These scenarios are made to look like they're natural events, but they're actually countries get involved, like Iran. What I wouldn't be surprised, low key, if the government doesn't have full understanding of what's going on, but it's also made to look like this were just natural occurrences.
Okay.
For all we know, somebody from another country with malicious harm that are kamikaze that are on our soil, already been living on our soil, could have hopped on that plane, could have made it look like something else, could have did this, could have James Bond, it could have been a James Bond shootout right on that thing right before it happened. Pop, pop, pop.
Right.
2 seconds. So you just don't know.
Yeah. True.
Back to back, I don't care. Back to back don't happen.
Yeah.
You can have back to back car accidents, but you don't have back to back flight incidents.
And just all the things that happened in the month of January.
Yeah,
you had the Louisiana situation.
God,
you had Trump
that's why
Tower
we're in February
situation.
1st now. Thank God.
And just now with that plane and the other one. And this is it's a bit much. It is.
Well, we have one flight scheduled. We picking to probably go this year, but the rest is gonna be up in that car, boy.
Road trip.
I know.
I like road trips, but we're gonna pray. Keep praying for these families.
But the thing is, why prayer is helpful, and you listen to
our
the Holy
nation
Spirit,
too.
because things will be really off that you'll hear before you jump on that flight. And now it's up to you to know how to be able to interpret that, or you just say, "Nah, I'm not even gonna do it. I'm gonna reschedule me another flight."
Well, yeah.
If stuff start getting weird, if I start hearing weird messages from the Lord and
Dreams,
a dream
is solid. It's no question.
Then we're gonna book for the next
We already know.
flight.
We
I'm
both
rescheduling.
dreams.
It's gonna be the flight that leave later on that evening or the next day.
The next day, and until I can get over it, until I get another dream to say, it's time to fly. Because that's too scary.
You know the clip they keep showing is the one from Leave This World Behind. The one where that was produced by the Obamas,
Mm-hmm.
and where it was that scene where the airplanes would just fall out of the sky and landing at just crashing into the beach.
I remember. Wow.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna leave that right on there, man. Y'all smash that like button, man. It's 2025. Let's pray things get better. We're in February. Thank God we're out of January. Only thing great that came in January is Trump took office, but everything else was like, oh, Jesus. We'll see y'all on the next one, man.